So what about practicing? When you sit down to the organ, what registration do you draw to practice? Well, you could just draw the registration you're going to play the piece on, and that seemed like quite a good idea because it will give you an idea of what it feels like. Because certainly on this organ, on mechanical action, the more stops you draw, the more resistance that you get from the keys. However, that can also be a little bit unhelpful, because particularly if the action feels very heavy, it can be difficult to practice for long periods on a very heavy registration, not only for your hands but also for your ears, because remember that very loud sounds gradually damage our ears, and many organists will suffer hearing loss over time from listening to loud registrations. So you can prevent that by making sure to practice on quieter registrations rather than loud ones all the time. So even if I wanted to play a very loud full organ piece by Bach, for example, when I'm practicing it, I'm usually going to practice it on a softer, lighter registration. This has two benefits. First of all, it protects my ears. Second of all, it makes the organ more responsive. The difference between full organ, like this, that's fine to play once like that, but if I'm practicing a piece for an hour, my hands are going to get very tired. And more importantly, my ears are going to get tired from listening to that loud sound over and over again. So when I'm practicing, I'll want to use a soft, responsive registration that doesn't require so much physical effort. Now, if your organ has electric action, it won't make any difference. However, even on electric action, you'll notice the greater responsiveness of softer registrations. So what kind of registration could I use to practice this piece, the Bach Short Prelude and Fugue BWV 553? It's for two hands on one manual and pedal. So I might start with the Clarabella. Let's see how this works. And I'll couple the pedal, great to pedal, and I'm going to play it slowly because of course I'm going to want to practice it very carefully. That's certainly a lot easier on the ears, it's easier on the hands. It also means that I have to work less hard with my fingers, and I have to be a bit more careful at the same time not to throw my fingers around the keyboard and be quite precise with my movements. Because the action is lighter to play, it's easier to play wrong notes. Sometimes if you play on a heavy registration, you can just be careless with your finger work because it's very difficult to play wrong notes without using a lot of force. But that registration to me sounds very unclear and very indistinct because there's a lot of movement happening here, and because that stop is quite thick and quite airy, can't really hear it very clearly. So let's find another stop that's a bit more precise in its sound. We could use just an open diapason on its own. That works pretty well. Or we could try the stop diapason on its own. I think that's my favorite one because it really shows up the detail in the articulation. So find a single stop on your organ that is really responsive to your articulation, is really light to play, and it's really clear to listen to for practice. Now, perhaps you might have to play a pedal exercise or a pedal solo on its own. What registration are you going to use for that? Let's take this piece once again. If I was playing the pedal line on its own, I could just simply couple something down like that, which works perfectly well. It's better to couple something down, maybe with the 16-foot on the pedal, rather than using the pedal 16-foot on its own, because it's very diffuse, very imprecise, and we can't really hear, even sometimes, depending on how well in tune the organ is, we can't even hear whether we're playing the right note. Here is the pedal board on its own, uncoupled. It sounds okay, but it feels a bit sluggish to play. It's partly because the pedal has pneumatic action, so it's just ever so slightly delayed in responding, whereas the keyboards have mechanical action, they're much quicker. So the best way around that is to choose, again, a clear bright stop on the manual. Let's try the open diapason on the grate, couple grate to pedal, 16-foot pedal stop, and now we can play the pedal line, and you'll hear that it's very clear and very precise. So I hope you found these suggestions useful, and that they've given you some ideas that you might use when approaching repertoire that you're learning, and indeed when approaching your own practice. Thanks for watching.